You were told health starts in your gut, but if you're a woman, it all starts with your hormones. When your hormones are off, everything is off, including digestive issues, mood, mental clarity, energy levels, weight management, and so much more. As the new year approaches, imagine hitting refresh and supporting your body with optimal hormone balance. Hormone Harmony is a game changer for women struggling with hormonal imbalances that leave them exhausted both physically and mentally. It only contains science-backed ingredients that bring back comfort, energy, clarity, confidence, and a sense of balance. Perfect for enjoying the holidays and heading into the new year energized. Happy Mammoth, the company that produces Hormone Harmony, is famous for its zero-compromise policy. No GMOs, artificial fillers or flavors, or any other junk. Only science-backed ingredients in amounts that are clinically proven. The company surveyed almost 2,000 women to see how Hormone Harmony helped them, and the results are mind-blowing. 86% of women started losing weight, 77% said it improved their mood, and 100% said they were feeling like themselves again. And on top of that, Hormone Harmony has over 50,000 raving reviews from women all over the world, with 98% of them saying they'd gladly recommend it to their friends and family. This holiday season, give yourself or the women in your life the gift of wellness. For a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code MurderDiaries at checkout. You could try Hormone Harmony risk-free and get 15% off your first order with code MurderDiaries at checkout.
Hello, I'm Diane Morgan. If you know who I am, you know who I am. If you don't, who cares? I'm here to explain Italian Time, a holiday phenomenon where Italians throw away their clocks and gather for eternity with San Pellegrino. I've been at this party so long that I've eaten 5 courses, hugged someone's grandma twice, and been offered a job in the family restaurant. So this holiday season, make sure to bring enough San Pellegrino to last you through the meal, the after meal, and the entire goodbye ritual. San Pellegrino, holiday on Italian Time.
Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay, our holiday you're saving.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. This season, enjoy spacious, comfortable rooms and friendly service when you book with Hilton instead. Hilton for the stay.
Welcome back to Unscripted, which, by the way, is moving to its own RSS feed. It's becoming its own podcast very soon. Stay tuned. It's happening in January. That being said, I'm Paige.
And I'm Natalie. Thanks for being here. We're excited to deep dive today.
We are talking about the human embodiment of Candyland, Miss Catherine Elizabeth Hudson, Katy Perry.
Oh, I'm excited for this one. And I definitely uncovered a lot of things that I forgot about her as I was researching for this episode. So I'm excited to uncover all of those for everyone else.
I'm excited to hear it too, because I haven't been a total follower of her and her career, but I do, have certain songs that I have listened to, listen to. Prism is probably my favorite album. I don't know how lame or not that is to Katie's fans. I'm pretty sure that's been my favorite album, and it's over a decade old now. So
that's not lame. And I mainly followed her early career.
Same.
And it was interesting to find out where she's been and where she's at now. And I have some tea that is fresh.
I cannot wait to hear the tea. Yeah, there has been some kettles screaming when it comes to Miss Katy Perry and the country of Canada and their former prime minister, Justin Trudeau. So
there's a lot to uncover today.
She's been making headlines again. She never necessarily left the headlines, but she's been making them an A-lister a little bit more recently.
Well, and this is more based on her personal life, too. The headlines that she's been making. It's not necessarily a career move.
Ooh. Oh, yeah. Right.
About her, her love life, her relationship, her pending divorce, that sort of thing.
Yes, which I did find very surprising, by the way. It just wasn't one that I saw coming. But when we talk about these people, we have to remember like their careers span decades. With Katy Perry, I mean, when she reached Part of Me, which at the time was her biggest moment before Prism, which I think was even bigger, but it follows their life from mid-ish 20s to she's just turned 41 at the end of October. So
I mean, a little bit earlier for her too, because as we learn, Miss Catherine Elizabeth Hudson, aka Katy Perry, as you said, she actually grew up in Santa Barbara and started her musical career a little bit earlier on than even that. She was very into music and actually wanted to be like her sister, who was taking music lessons or voice lessons. And her parents were like, sure, you can also do that as well. And look where it's taken her.
She's very close with her sister, Angela. The documentary that I was rewatching, I saw it at the time that it came out in 2012, but I was rewatching pieces of the Part of Me documentary. And you can see she is really close with her sister, at least at that time when her sister worked for her. So Angela is definitely somebody that she really looked up to, or at least wanted to take care of as she was making her money and wanted to make sure her sister was well taken care of. So I really love to see it. And then, of course, she has a younger brother. I think his name is David. And so it was a tight-knit family. They did move around a little bit, but she was primarily raised in Santa Barbara. The reason that they moved around a little bit is because their parents were traveling pastors. And now, if you ask me, I think this is why she's so close to her grandma, too, who lived or lives in Vegas. I don't know if grandma is still with us or not. It has been over a decade since this documentary. And it's such a sweet moment. And it's actually more towards like the mid beginning where you get to go through Katy's earlier life, which, that's always my favorite part of every documentary. I love to get to know the people before we got to get to know them, because what do we always say, Natalie? Somebody who becomes a star overnight, it's been 10 years in the making. Yeah. And so for Katy, I think you're right. This is true. She was singing Christian songs. She was kind of pushed into it a little bit, but she loved it. And her grandma says, this is the moment that I was kind of referencing and why I wanted to bring it up. They're looking at all the old pictures, and you do see a very blonde, sandy-haired Katy singing. Her sister's a bit sandy-haired, redheaded as well, as opposed to the beautiful chocolate locks that she often sports, or platinum.
She should never be any other hair color besides like black. It just looks so good on her.
It looks so good because it's because it's a black brownish, by the way. It's not full black, which can sometimes be a little bit harsher when it's not your natural color. But all that to say that, yes, she was a bit not pushed into it, but she was kind of told like, oh, you're gonna sing, because she was probably trying to, probably circling this musical moment that was happening. I don't know a ton about it, but she does end up singing at a very young age. And her grandma says of her, you were a show off. And Katy, in perfect response, goes, yeah, I know I was a show off. Look where it got me, or it got me somewhere. And it's like, hey, you know what? That's true. It got you on that stage like a peppermint princess, blowing candy cane glitter guns and living your best life.
It got her to a net worth of $360 million.
Wow.
It paid off to be that little show off from Santa Barbara.
It sure did. It sure did.
I actually saw an interview that she did in the early aughts talking about her upbringing.
Oh, was she like 18? I've seen some of that interview from when she's 18.
I don't know exactly how old she is, but she does talk about her parents and their jobs. So like you said that they were
traveling pastors.
Well, apparently they met in Vegas. And so they had a wild upbringing themselves and sort of found religion. The father was a pastor, and along with her aunt. And somehow her parents met while in Vegas. And that sort of was like the initiation or the beginning phases of this Hudson family that, would eventually have the 3 kids and Katy Perry.
It seems like Katy was quite happy growing up, despite that it was a very I would say, strict, guided upbringing. She wasn't allowed to watch the Smurfs. She wasn't, which if you're an 80s baby, you were watching the Smurfs, but she was not allowed to.
And she ended up voicing Smurf's character later on. So it came full circle, I guess.
The ultimate irony, Katy has definitely deconstructed to a certain extent. But I did find that interesting that, like she wasn't listening to very likely a lot of secular music or watching a lot of secular movies. But she was allowed, incidentally enough, allowed to watch Sister Act 2, but not ever Sister Act 1. So you could see where her parents were very likely flexible with certain things, but there was just certain things
they weren't going to budge on.
That they weren't going to budge on. That was a hard boundary. It's like, oh, it doesn't matter that this is also Sister Act. We're not doing it. And I totally get and respect that parents are setting boundaries for their kids, but also this was part of Pentecostal culture. There was very much beliefs behind why they weren't allowed to see and or hear XYZ.
Well, and that extended to even like verbiage they used. So she's famously said that they weren't allowed to call deviled eggs. They had to call them angeled eggs. They couldn't call it like the dirt devil, the vacuum. They had to call it the angel vacuum or whatever, or the dirt angel, something like that. Mm-hmm. And then they weren't allowed to eat Lucky Charms because the word luck is, tied to the devil's name. And so
it's, what did they call it? I think it's like devil given or something like that. Like luck is of the devil, like to them, to Pentecostal. Right. They didn't like to believe in luck. Everything to them was God given and was a blessing and served a purpose. And you need to walk and follow that purpose. It is not a coincidence. It is not luck. So I kind of get it, but it is kind of interesting when you're not necessarily the one who is coming up with that name to, really be like, you can't eat that or whatever.
It kind of feels reminiscent to me when people were like, you can't call French fries, like around 9/11, you can't call French fries, call them freedom fries. Or do you remember that?
That was a hot minute and you just unlocked a memory. Oh my gosh, because they were mad at France because they didn't want to help us.
Or for whatever reason, I don't even know. I mean, I was barely, I think I was a preteen at the time. So I never really understood why that was happening. But it just is sort of like Fetch in Mean Girls. You keep trying to make it happen and it's not going to happen.
It's not, yeah.
But even though she wasn't allowed to listen to certain music and she wasn't allowed to watch movies and she had to call things by different names, it doesn't mean that she wasn't smuggling CDs or cassettes into the house.
Alanis Morissette, hint, you ought to know, was...
Well, Jagged Little Pill, that album was a main source of inspiration for her.
Now, she would have been about, 12, 13, maybe somewhere between 11 and 13 when that album came out. And she talks about listening to it with a friend. We're probably hearing some of the similar stories that she tells about it. But specifically, You Ought to Know, which, by the way, I will rock out to that song. I'll rock out to Jagged Little Pill all day. It is Alanis's best work. Chef's Kiss. It's almost 30 years old now, by the way, but that sparked something in her.
And you can hear that early inspiration in some of the earlier music where...
I was going to say that. Yeah.
Have you seen that TikTok trend where they make fun of Katy singing this one song? And I can't think of the name of the song, but it's "You're like an Indian summer in the middle of the winter." Like, literally, she's like enunciating and making sure to hold on to each word. And that's a very Alanis Morissette inspired way of singing.
And like a deeper, but still very feminine vocal. Absolutely. Yes.
Whereas like now when you hear stuff that she's putting out, it's a lot more poppy, light, fluffy. And not to say that one is more her, but you can just feel the influence at the time.
Well, let's face it. She's 41 competing with Gen Zers who are, I'm sorry, but like they're all singing in cursive. Have you listened to like Tate McRae?
And how did I know you were going to bring her up? I need to look into her because she pops up every now and then on my feed. And I'm just like, oh, I don't know her. Scroll past. But maybe there's something there. I need to tune into.
I felt the exact same. So the other night I did 2 album deep dives. While my husband played video games next to me on his PC, I was listening to music, and I actually finally started to understand it, because it was the same thing. Like I couldn't understand it. I couldn't get on board. The branding was interesting to me, And anyways, though, that it's very breathy, it's very cursive-y, it's like things like that. And a lot of the singers are doing it. And I see TikToks about it too. Like, it's kind of funny. And it's all in the spirit of good fun, because guess what? We are listening. Like, we all know Sports Car, for example, by Tate McRae. Like, we know, we hear it. Some of us like certain parts of it, whatever. It's not necessarily for us as people in their 30s, as opposed to people in their young 20s. I think Tate is like maybe 22, something like that. So anyways, maybe 23. So all that to say that Katy's competing with these younger people who are singing in a little bit of that more breathy, poppy style. It's very early 2000s. Like, all of Tate McRae, again, for an example, is very early 2000s inspired. And I think she does a good job of it, because she did modernize it to a certain extent and obviously personally brand it for herself. But she's very much, if Britney Spears came out today, what Britney Spears would be like, which is why I do wonder if she may end up our Britney Spears in the biopic. I don't know. I'm so nervous about the casting of that movie, but this episode's not about that. But I'm very nervous about it. I need it to be good. It will heal my soul.
I think we're definitely going to be keeping tabs on what's happening with that biopic. But as you were saying, this episode is about Katy Perry. And we were talking about how, she was inspired. She did sing at her parents' church until about 17. She ended up leaving high school. She got her GED. And as I was saying, because she was singing, she was able to get the attention of a few artists who were local to Nashville, which is the music hub of, everywhere. And they brought her there to work on her writing skills. And that's where she started in Nashville, started recording demos. She learned how to play songs. She improved her playing of the guitar,
which she asked for, by the way. She wanted
it sounded like it said guitar. I meant guitar. I don't know. But yeah, okay. So she asked for it.
She did. She asked for that guitar. And this is, again, that was at 13. And this is, again, when she first hears the You Ought to Know that we're sort of circling these moments around, which was at a friend's house, by the way. So you are correct. She found a way to hear these songs. She found a way how to get that guitar, because
where there's a will, there's a way.
Where there's a will, there's a way. And
kids will find a way.
And she was finding her own path through all this. She was born into it. So she didn't necessarily have to agree with the lifestyle. And what are you doing as a teenager? You're finding your own identity, quite literally, if we even look at developmental theories. So,
and that search of self is something that we see even into her early 20s, not to jump ahead too much, but she talks about how she had to reconcile her own beliefs with having a relationship with her parents. And so it was something that she definitely put a lot of thought into, of can my parents think one way and me still have a relationship? If I think a different way.
And she definitely does feel differently about how to implement religion or beliefs or faith or whatever she may be, titling and working on, discovering, carrying with her, or holding space for, if you will. She says, though, I pray all the time for self-control, for humility. So she definitely has a part of it, but you could see even throughout her career, that's not a Pentecostal woman. You can call yourself Pentecostal all the time. You are not any longer practicing the Pentecostal religion, which
you're not wearing a whipped cream bra.
Is fine. No judgment here. I'm not Pentecostal. So I don't even know the depths of it. But so, yeah, there's definitely some kind of deconstruction, but also some pieces she still carries with her. So hopefully, her relationship with her parents, which I don't know a bunch about, hopefully that still is, a thread that they can kind of carry with them. Because, by the way, in 2012, at least, they were still very much traveling pastors for the Pentecostal faith. They're blessing people, they're passing out, they're putting people who passed out on the floor, they're doing all the things. There's video of her dad doing it. So it's a very powerful experience for people that were pastored to by them. It's what they were looking for. All that to say that she did sing in that church until she was around 17. So she gets her guitar at 13, and by 17, she's out of there.
And she eventually signed to Red Hill Records, where she recorded her debut album, which was a contemporary Christian album, self-titled Katy Hudson, because that's her legal name, at least her name she was given at birth.
Yes, Perry is her mom's maiden name.
Correct. And so that was released in 2001. It sold a measly 200 copies.
Oof.
And that was before the label ceased operations that same year. And, the album went with it, basically. It didn't do well. It didn't receive good reviews from critics and obviously wasn't commercially successful. So she had to figure out how to transition from gospel music to secular music.
And now we're getting closer to 18 as well. So she's able to make some of these decisions where even if it disappoints mom and dad, I'm an adult. There's a little bit more control she's going to get as she becomes an adult at the end of 2002.
And she eventually moved to Los Angeles.
At 17. Yeah.
And I kind of feel like her early career is a little bit like record label hot potato. She goes from record label to record label to record label, trying to get her footing and get a place in the music industry. And for some reason, she can't quite get her foothold.
I have a theory.
Okay, tell me.
I think, and this is something that I learned on TikTok, but I carry with me now. This is standard. Okay. This is standard for me. I learned something and then I kind of deep dive and I start holding on to it. And I sort of, it's like an interpolation in music. That's how I am with like these theories that other people have. There's a hair theory and I've talked about it in Unscripted before. I bet you she dyed her hair dark and that's when she sailed off. I bet you. And then by part of me, she was the peppermint Candyland queen that we knew for quite a little while in her career. She doesn't necessarily dress like that anymore. The blue wigs, then back to the brown hair when performing, like that vibe is when she took off. But I bet you it's the dark hair that then sailed. It's just a thing. As soon as people change their hair and a little bit of the look, it becomes a little bit more branded somehow, some way, and they sail off. So if you're a struggling artist, change your hair. Just saying.
I think you're onto something with this rebranding, because she didn't just rebrand her image with a different look, complete with a different hairstyle, hair color, but she also changed her name officially, or at least,
professionally. Yeah.
Professionally. She went from Katy Hudson to Catherine Perry to Katy Perry, which, as you said, was Perry is her mother's maiden name. And so she changed her look, she changed her name, and she really moved through a couple different record labels. She went from like Java Records to, which is like affiliated with Island Def Jam Music. She went to Columbia Records, and that's where she started working on a debut titled Fingerprints. And some of that material ends up appearing on what we now know as what she was introduced to, like the broader public, the album One of the Boys. You saw a little bit of fingertips on One of the Boys. So it's kind of like a Frankenstein album.
Interesting.
I've told you before, I'm telling you now, and if I'm lucky, I'll get to tell you again. For therapy, I choose Rula. I've made that choice, by the way, for quite a few years now. I'm very open about my struggles with OCD, and Rula's amazing therapists have been nothing but amazing. More than that, though, I am impressed with their platform. There's a check-in survey before my sessions, and if I have questions or need to talk to my therapist in between sessions, I can message her right on Rula's platform from my account. Did I mention also that they partner with over 100 insurance plans and the average copay is just $15 per session? Some people pay $0. I know I do. Rula is true to end care. They're committed to supporting you. I know I have felt supported and staying with you every step of the way on your mental health journey, from finding that right therapist to helping you get those appointments scheduled. Join thousands of people who are already using Rula to get affordable, high-quality therapy that's actually covered by insurance. Visit rula.com/diaries to get started. After you sign up, you'll be asked how you heard about them. Please tell them about our show and let them know we sent you. That's rula.com/diaries. Diaries. You deserve mental health care that works with you, not against your budget.
Hey, this is Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast, here to tell you that Michelob Ultra, the official beer partner of the NBA, is bringing NBA fans closer than ever this season with chances to win great prizes, including courtside tickets. Enter now at michelobultra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra Courtside 25 to 26. No purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 plus. Begins on October 1st, 2025 and ends on June 30th, 2026. Multiple entry periods. See official rules at michelobultra.com/courtside for free entry deadlines, prizes, and details.
This is Jason Momoa, and I'll be your finance professor today. Welcome to Banking Smarter 101 with Chime. Bam! First lesson, sign up for Chime and set up direct deposit. You'll be joining millions of members banking fee-free. Second lesson, get cash back on eligible purchases while building credit and a higher APY on your savings. That's how you bank smarter this season. Fa-la-la-la-la, class dismissed. Join Chime today.
Chime is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services and a secure Chime Visa credit card provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. Members FDIC. Optional services and products may have fees or charges. Details at chime.com/fees-info. With a qualifying direct deposit, earn 1.5% cash back on eligible secure Chime Visa credit card purchases. On-time payment history may have a positive impact on your credit score. Results may vary. APY means annual percentage yield. Learn about credit building and more at chime.com.
And some of the songs that were originally for Fingerprints that didn't make it onto One of the Boys went to Kelly Clarkson and Selena Gomez.
Oh, I wonder which ones went to Selena. Oh, Rock God.
And then for Kelly Clarkson, it was I Do Not Hook Up and Long Shot. I definitely remember I Do Not Hook Up. I don't remember Long Shot.
I Do Not Hook Up was a main single, of that album. It's actually a pretty good song. I mean, Miss Kelly Clarkson, she is so talented. I can't say that I'm like obsessed with her, but there's just like no denying her talent, you know? Like that is some raw talent.
To this day, I will proudly say one of the 2 seasons that I watched American Idol, I voted for her.
Heck yeah.
And I chose her as my American Idol.
Fun fact, because we're speaking about American Idol, which we know Miss Katy Perry was a judge of. I have gone to two tapings of that. It was the Adam Lambert situation. I went to a concert of American Idol finalists, and I've also been to The Voice, but Katy Perry obviously has nothing to do with The Voice, but they're lots of fun. So if you ever visit LA, go to oneiota.com and you could like go to a filming. It's pretty fun. It kind of is like an all day thing. So go when it's cooler because you might be standing outside. But anyways, it is so interesting to me that, you know, Katy Perry starts out as, and I say this from a good place and I just don't have another word, from like a failed gospel album. I say that with absolute respect, to a judge on American Idol, which really means that like you have had the career, you know how the business works. You're not just able to recognize talent. And I think Katy got a lot of heat for that by the time she made it to American Idol too. And I know we're moving ahead in the timeline, but I think she did. And she was like, she's mean. I think she's just saying who she feels like could make it from her own experience.
That was an era of Katy Perry's life, though, and career that was a little bit wacky to me.
Absolutely.
But I don't want to get too far ahead because I want to talk a little bit more about One of the Boys.
Absolutely. Let's rewind back to that. This is her coming out album, basically to the public.
And she actually worked with Max Martin, who we know just recently worked with Taylor Swift on The Life of a Showgirl. She worked with Dr. Luke, whose relationship with her is very questionable. It's come up in a lot of discourse within the last few years. And so I believe she also worked with Benny Blanco on a lot of these songs. So you have Max Martin, Dr. Luke, and Benny Blanco working on songs for Fingertips that would eventually make their way onto
One of the Boys.
And One of the Boys actually was released by Capitol Records. They picked her up after she was released from her other label in 2007.
And this comes out by 2008, which, by the way, there is a song called Fingerprints on One of the Boys. So very interesting lore here.
Super interesting lore. And it doesn't stop there. Her first single that was released off of One of the Boys was I Kissed a Girl. And I distinctly remember this was like my clubbing era. I was going to all of the clubs with all my friends.
Oh yeah, this is college, baby.
Yeah, we would be at Tiger Heat all the time, probably every Thursday. I think that was the day of the week.
Stop, not Tiger
And for
Heat.
those listening that aren't from the LA area, it's a all ages club.
Oh yeah, you start going at like
It's an
18.
all ages LGBTQ club.
Mm-hmm.
And I distinctly remember that they, one evening or one night, there was no evening. It was very late. They handed out a single of I Kissed a Girl.
Oh my gosh.
To everyone that attended that night. And those are the songs that were playing. It was I Kissed a Girl, Hot and Cold was also on that album, You're So Gay, which, you know, I Kissed a Girl and You're So Gay now probably wouldn't be released in 2025.
Right. But then it was seen as like a positive that there was some representation, because we've got to remember this is also a time in history, at least in California, where Tiger Heat was and where Katy was living and from primarily, that we were fighting against having same-sex marriage in this state, specifically right around this time. So that's a pretty big deal to have songs like that at a club that was, you know.
Right. It was a huge moment for her, I'm imagining, to get her songs played in clubs and on the radio. And the song did really well, but there was a little bit of controversy in like the Christian communities about it. And also some of the LGBTQ communities. They felt like she was queer baiting.
Which is now a lot more recognized than back then. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so there was some of that going on as well. So a lot of people liked it. They felt like it was a bop, as the kids say nowadays.
I mean, it is. It
is. But I do definitely remember there's an interview have you seen it, of Lady Gaga, where she's asked if she thinks that Katy Perry has ever kissed a girl. And Lady Gaga basically says, I think she wants to, or like, I think she wishes. And so it kind of gives you an idea of how some people thought of Katy Perry possibly using this bi curiosity to sell records.
Yeah. And maybe a little bit of mix of queer baiting, knowing that it would work, which I think is one of the same reasons why my savior, Taylor Allison Swift, no, I'm kidding, why I think she doesn't ever shut down the Gaylor followers. I think that this worked for the same reasons. And it is interesting, though, again, with just the cultural context. I mean, that's what's so cool about music and film is when you apply cultural context, it means so much more, bad or good.
Can I give you a little bit of tea, too?
Please.
About this music video? So the I Kissed a Girl music video is very risque. It's like a boudoir themed. There's a lot of lingerie. Katy Perry's on a bed surrounded by other girls in similarly clad, like similar outfits. And if you take a really close look, there's a very familiar face in the background. Can you guess?
Oh,
Kesha.
No.
Yes.
Okay, don't even get me started on Kesha. She's so talented and slept on.
You want to know why she's in this music video, though? Because they have the Dr. Luke connection, who later
praying about that guy, right? The Sony guy?
I want to say this is alleged because I don't know too much, but he is said to have sexually assaulted Kesha.
Yes.
And he has prevented her from releasing new music.
He did for a long time.
Literally the last decade and a half. But this supposedly was prior to that happening. And so he was working with Kesha. He was working with Katy Perry. And so he saw his two up and coming musical artists he was working with put him in the same music video.
Yes. I want to confirm that Praying by Kesha, which she hits a note in there that you would not believe. It's like an F or F sharp or something. Like it's an insane
newly released.
Note. I would say it was in the first album she was finally able to release when she won in court. But that is about her legal battle with the said Dr. Luke. But of course she doesn't like name him in the song, but it's very obvious everything that she talks about in that song. And wow. So he was not a good person.
No, not a good person. And rumors are he's pretty litigious. So we'll just keep everything alleged.
Right. They already had their day in court anyway. So whatever the court said, Kesha now releases music. So
That's why maybe in a little bit later on in Katy's career, when we bring up her reconnecting with Dr. Luke and making new music, that's why it's a big deal, because like she knew what was happening with Dr. Luke and Kesha, and she still chose to work with him. And that's one of the reasons people nowadays really have something against Katy Perry.
Yeah. And I don't know why I was talking about Sony earlier, but I felt like that had something to do with it. But you know how your brain does like weird things. But yeah, I mean,
my brain does weird things all the time.
Kesha had at least like 5 years before she could release music, from right around like 2012 all the way up until 2017 when Rainbow was released. She still takes a little while in between albums, but she had some more come out obviously subsequently after that. She's had like 3 more since 2017.
And she's out there. She's performing when she can. She actually performed at a Spotify event last December. And to see her on stage doing what she loved was pretty fun.
We may need to deep dive her too. I just want to deep dive everyone. I hope you guys are liking these because they are,
I like them,
so fun and interesting to do. Yeah. Anyways, back to Katy, our girl for Katy, today.
Yes. So this era of her being super popular on the news, this is really when the broader public got to see her and got to know her. She was kind of marketed as like a cool girl. She had like a pinup aesthetic. I distinctly remember her participating in Warped Tour, and she hung around with like Panic at the Disco and Fall Out Boy, Gym Class Heroes.
She's like a peppermint Betty Boop. Like a Candyland peppermint Betty Boop. That's exactly. You're right. She was a little bit party-esque, right? Like you're getting stuff from at the club and stuff like that. Her music was there. So, okay.
It had a little bit more edge to it, I would say.
Sure.
And a little bit more like pop. She was a little bit more affiliated with like the pop rock scene. She dated Travie McCoy of Gym Class Heroes. She was in the music video. And so really the audience or like the public was starting to see a little bit more and more of Katy Perry.
Yes. That edge also seen in Alanis. Katy just went more of like a brighter visual than Alanis, right? But Alanis would have kind of actually been like a 90s cool girl. Like if you watch the
absolutely
ironic music video and stuff, yeah, like that's like a Gen X Lodi kind of cool girl, if you will. That their version of what a quote party girl kind of was back then for later Gen X. But this is the era where she is kind of thriving and she's still really young, right? She's not even 30. So I think that this is where she's building a really big fan base. In the documentary, there is a moment where there's kind of 2 older people. One seems to be a mom, and then other might have been like a daughter, a friend. I'm not sure. Obviously, they don't like state it. But she says, I don't care like what age we are. Like we're here. Kind of like, is Katy seen as for the younger people back then? Like, especially again, when she's Peppermint Betty Boop, is she seen as this kind of cartoonish, especially for Part of Me era, right? Katy does have, they're a little more subtle because her branding weaves in between them, unlike, say, Taylor. But this is very heavy on the cartoonish vibes when we're talking about Part of Me. So that's like the reference here. And again, it was just such a pivotal moment in her career, which is why it's so cool that the documentary is at this moment. But it did make me think, did we ever see Katy Perry as somebody for like kids? Not necessarily, but like teenagers and above, sure.
I would definitely see teenagers, teenagers that want to be a little bit edgy, at least when she was coming out onto the scene, listening to a song called I Kissed a Girl or You're So Gay or Hot and Cold. It really was something for an older audience, I would say.
She pushed the boundaries. She came out with peppermints on either side of the tatas spinning. And she loved it. And backstage, someone asks her, are you going to go out on stage with them spinning as soon as you like get on stage? She goes, yeah, I think so. I think it was, I don't know. Well, I think so. Like, so when she comes up onto the stage in that particular outfit, those peppermints are spinning. And it is exactly, it's pushing it, which Betty Boop also did. She was a little risque cartoon. So that's like
but it was
best
like
example.
A little cheeky, seen as cheeky.
It's cheeky.
And that's very much
that's her. She's edgy.
Katy Perry at the time.
Way.
And I would say now she's a little bit more camp, where she's over the top and she's over the top and you know she's over the top. And there's like that mutual understanding of what she's doing.
Yes. I think you're right. And I think she had to, now that she's not young and a trend setter necessarily, even though 40 is not old. Okay. It's not. We're just saying she's not 28 anymore. She's not 27.
It's a different phase of life. We have to be honest and acknowledge that.
That's all it is. Right. You're not old, but it's just a different phase of life. You're looked at differently. She's a kid. She's gone through marriages, like all since when we're talking about Part of Me when she was 27, 28 years old.
I'm so glad you bring up the marriages because right after she gets introduced to the public, it's like 2008. And now we're in 2009. She meets Russell Brand while filming a cameo for his Get Him to the Greek movie. Do you remember that film?
Yes.
With Jonah Hill?
Absolutely.
Apparently they kiss in the scene that she was in and it was scrapped from the film because I don't remember it. It like stayed on the cutting room floor. Yeah. But they started dating after that and they got engaged that same year on New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2009.
And they got married in 2010. So all of that obviously checks out. Yeah. Well, and so was the marriage. I mean, they were divorced by 2012, but I will always remember their wedding when I think of tigers. Like anytime I see a tiger, anything like that, because there was such controversy about them having some kind of tiger at that wedding. And it already kind of bothered me too, because like these are like wild animals. We don't need to be. Yeah. And I'm sure that one was, quote, like tamed or like in like captivity for whatever the reason may be, good or bad. Don't know. But like there was just like a lot of controversy around it. And I wish I could remember all of the lore, but it was not a good look.
Well, just for like the safety of the animal and the guests, like maybe that's not something we have at a wedding.
Where did they get married? Was it like in India?
Yeah.
Jinx.
That's where they got engaged at least. And I feel like they were really seen as two quirky individuals, but like quirky in different ways.
Quirky in edgy ways as well, because he was a comedian turned actor, you know.
And he was like famously sober, but
I remember what the thing about the tiger was. So sorry to cut you off, but I'm too excited about this tiger because it like still kind of bothers me and I don't even remember what the lore was. He gave her, and this is a perfect picture actually though of what you were just talking about, how they're both kind of like edgy and weird and quirky in their own ways. He gave her the tiger. His name was Malachi as a wedding gift. I'm sorry, where is that gonna live?
Where's the tiger? And who named it Malachi?
What the heck? Does Malachi have some kind of significance? I don't even know. Like, what do you mean? Who named it?
I mean, what kind of name is Malachi for a tiger? I don't know. Like, it's kind of like naming it Steve. Like, what?
Yeah, like, right. I guess it stayed at some reserve. So, like, the gift was a bit more symbolic.
They adopted it and, like,
maybe
you know how you can adopt a shark. I always thought that was really interesting.
Right. True. And you can like follow them on some of those sites too, because they can track. Yeah. And then everybody gets distraught if like their tracker like stops because maybe this shark's
and then they
not
have
with
to
us.
get a new shark.
They have to get a new shark. But I know I'm mentioning how much it bothers me, but I do also want to preface and catch myself that we do never know exactly what happened to this tiger for it to end up in captivity. It could be really bad. So we need to stay vigilant and like aware of these things and question them. But also it could have been like orphaned. And then because it was rehabilitated by human hands, it wasn't able to be re-released. Those things can be hard. Yeah, I myself admittedly at 4 years old, so I didn't even understand, pet a baby tiger that was part of a circus, but I think it was born in captivity. So how is it going to be released to the wild at that point, you know?
So at 4, you weren't making that choice on your own.
I was not making that choice. And it was part of the Ringling Brothers circus because we knew the drummer of the Ringling Brothers, who was the drummer for many, many years. So it was an interesting and cool experience, especially at 4. But right, like these things aren't pets, even in captivity. So this idea is still icky. It should give us the ick. We should be questioning these things. But hopefully Malachi is living a good and safe life, regardless
Godspeed,
where that
Malachi.
is. Godspeed, Malachi. I hope you're eating all of the meats and whatever.
I was gonna say, yeah, what do they eat?
They eat like meat. I love my big cats. There's a lot of sanctuaries on TikTok.
Okay, so back to this marriage.
Yes.
Obviously,
I mean, what a picture of the marriage already, right? Like,
Right.
weird.
over the top, what you would expect from Katy Perry and Russell Brand, this pairing. So I would call a marriage where she seemed pretty happy to be a high point in her personal life, but she was also reaching a high point in her career as well. This is when, like 2010, 2012, that whole timeline is when Teenage Dream is really making its rounds. This is like, I would say this is peak Katy Perry.
Yeah, she's 25 to 28 years old at this time.
This episode is brought to you by Dead Man's Wire, the new film from Roquet Entertainment. Dead Man's Wire is the incredible true story of the 1977 kidnapping that turned an aspiring entrepreneur into an outlaw folk hero. Directed by legendary filmmaker Gus Van Sant, Dead Man's Wire stars Bill Skarsgård, Dacre Montgomery, Carrie Elways, and Myha'la, with Coleman Domingo and Al Pacino. In select theaters January 9th, everywhere January 16th.
Abercrombie Kids is bringing the cheer all holiday season and the gifts too. No matter how long their wish list is, there's always room for just one more. Whether it's a new winter coat, an extra pair of jeans, or cozy matching sweat sets, get gifting with looks they've been waiting for all year. Shop Abercrombie Kids in the app, online, and in stores.
Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
There are 5 #1 singles off of that album, which tied her with Michael Jackson's Bad.
Wow.
And that was unheard of. I mean, it's a feat that not many have been able to accomplish. And she's called this era her Technicolor world. You know, so this is when she had her whipped cream bra, lollipop guns. It's over the top, as we've been describing.
You mentioned lollipop guns. I'm telling you, in the documentary 2012, she had a peppermint gun and it was blowing out either glitter or confetti. I paused and I stared for a long time. Couldn't figure out what it was, but it looks like glittery confetti.
This might also be the time of Left Shark, when she performed at the Super Bowl. And famously, she had 2 sharks on one shark on each side. And the left shark, I guess, couldn't hear the music or couldn't see out of his costume. And so he sort of performed on his own. Do you remember that?
No, but
it became this huge meme of Left Shark just doing his own thing. That's what he was called online. And she would bring him out on stage afterward at her concerts.
That is not long after. So I could see where she was still kind of riding the wave of that branding. Because we have to remember, not everything, of course, the world felt fast, but not everything was still as fast back then. Now you've got like 6 months as an artist and you need to be like moving on to the next thing before the other things even out. But that was February 3rd, 2015. So not long after though. I mean, still a relatable time within the same half a decade.
Thank you for clarifying on the timeline.
You know, I get sometimes super hyper-focused on all of that.
I feel like sometimes it can blend all in to each other. But as we're talking about this high point, Teenage Dream, part of her personal life does come crashing down, which you saw this moment in her documentary that you watched. And you can talk a little bit more about it because I've seen the clip, but you watched the whole documentary. It's when her husband, Russell Brand, texts her right before she's about to go on stage that he's filing for divorce. And there's this moment that is very cinematic and it feels like it belongs in a scripted movie where the pop star has to decide if she's going to go out on stage and put a smile on her face or crumble. And she chooses to put plaster on a smile on her face. And you see that moment where she literally looks like a broken human being and somehow gathers the strength to disassociate. I don't know what you would call it.
You kind of are. You're distracting yourself. You're sort of
compartmentalizing.
You would have to get through it. But that's the cool thing about music. And I'll never forget this moment where Emma Stone, who also can sing and act. She talks about how in therapy, she was told once, like, oh, it's really good that you found acting because you feel so deeply. So a lot of these performers and songwriters and artists, if they can't get it out through a performance, a song, some type of art, regardless of what their like niche is or their talent is, that could be like emotionally detrimental to them. So like if they didn't have that outlet, who knows where they would be. So I think it's kind of some of that too. She probably just felt like, if I don't go out there and do this, number one, they're going to be disappointed. But number two, I can really get some of this energy and these feelings out, because when you're singing a song, you're allowed to feel like that. Would it be hard to be singing a happy song when you're not feeling happy? Yeah, it would. But
I mean, we've all seen the clips of Taylor Swift crying during the Eras tours.
Exactly. So people do end up giving you that space though. And you will find moments in that show probably to dissociate, probably to get into your feelings and kind of go in and out and have that experience, release, and then go deal with it. And I think that we see artists do that all the time because of the nature of their work. And I don't necessarily think that that is super healthy.
It can't be.
I could see a studio being a lot more healthy of an avenue for artists than performing and having to like slap that smile on and get through a very kind of preset bunch of moves, right? It's already predetermined what you're going to be doing. Whereas in the studio, you're singing a song and you can kind of just get through the feel. Like, I'm in my feels. I want to record this song right now because this is what I'm feeling. I just wrote this. I want to record it. Like, just push record.
There's a lot less responsibility if one were in the studio and that happened versus Katy literally under the stage about to,
have a breakdown. Yeah.
Have a breakdown. And
her life is crumbling.
Literally. And I, like I said, I didn't watch the documentary, but I've seen the clip of that moment. And I think at least the editing for that moment, they did a really great job, at least because that's what I can speak to from what I've seen. You can really feel the pressure that she must have felt. They have the audience of thousands of people. You can feel the energy from through the screen of these people anticipating, wanting her. And she has no choice but to go on.
Right.
She can't cater to that moment. And she can't feel it. She can't allow herself to feel it. And so I think that was a really interesting look into the life of a pop star because the show must go on, as they say.
Yes. And interestingly, I feel like this mirrors in a certain way, decision-making wise, Katy's thought process. She showed up to her grandmother's house looking like Elvis. But in the most Katy Perry way ever.
Fill us in on that.
So she shows up to her grandma's house, again, in Las Vegas, in the most Katy Perry version of Elvis. So it's this like white, tight-fitting, either corset
like
or
Elvis?
dress. Yes, like a hot Elvis with, it's like white and, I don't want to say patent leather. Like, what's that? It's like, I don't know.
Vinyl?
It could be, but it wasn't very shiny. It's hard to explain, but it is a form-fitting kind of matte, leathery looking dress. It's probably like a matte leather, maybe. And it's like just perfect, right? And it's got like gold studs on it. And again, this is 2012. And she shows up to her grandma's house and she says, if you didn't live in Vegas, I might not be dressed up like this. I might be more casual, but I figured since you live in Vegas, I'd show up like this. So like she's making these decisions on like how to show up, and she goes big when she's making the decision to either go big or not. And that's what she did in both of those moments within her personal life. So I don't want to say what are we hiding behind, but I do wonder what it does for her. And maybe it is a bit of not a true escapism, but for lack of better word, right? Like it is a way to kind of polish herself up and to, show up in a certain way, I guess, obviously.
I think it shows her resilience too.
Sure.
She found a way to be resilient. And maybe, I don't want to call it a crutch, but like being bold like that allowed her to keep going, I guess.
It's like, does she feel a bit protected and hidden when the glitz and the glams
of candy and whipped cream? And
it's armor. Like you're just filming at your grandma's house. to be honest, to me, to get to know you as an artist, like you want us to through a documentary, I think we should have seen the jeans and a sweatshirt. Or if you're me, leggings and a sweatshirt. But it also is authentic, perhaps, to how she likes to show up. I don't know, right? Because I don't know her personally. But it does certainly bring up that question overall. Which part's authentic and which part do we hide behind? Especially when you're going through things like your marriage kind of crumbling. Those text messages you're talking about, like, yeah, they may or may not have come out of the blue, but sometimes...
I mean, there's a time and place for them. He didn't have to text her while she was at work.
And I feel safe saying this, pretty freaking horrific. Lots of things have come out about him. So I think she's much...
I'm only laughing because I'm laughing at you saying, I feel safe saying this.
This is a safe space here against Russell Brand. No, lots of different allegations and stuff. So I just like don't mess with Russell Brand. And I think a lot of people don't. And I think that she ended up hopefully for the better of it. She does, like you mentioned, have a halftime show, and Prism comes out, which has a lot of really well-known songs.
Singles.
Prism was such a great follow-up to One of the Boys and Teenage Dream. I mean, it's just bop after bop after bop for 3 albums in a row where they could come on for a second and you know which Katy Perry song that is. And you can sing it.
Prism has Roar on it and Dark Horse, which are both like anthems.
And Firework.
And Firework. I feel like this was her sort of like reclaiming her strength after this divorce and public crumbling of her relationship. And I believe that tour grossed over $200 million. And
wow.
It made her one of the highest earning female artists of the decade. Obviously, we know that with the Eras Tour, Taylor Swift smashed that record. But at the time, this was 10 years ago, I would say even now, $200 million is a lot of money.
A lot of money, even in today's world, especially. We go in and out of talking about this too, but just remember, like the difference between $1 million and $200 million.
Oh,
a lot, right? And we usually talk about that in comparison of $1 million to $1 billion, but you know, you're almost a quarter of the way to $1 billion by the time you reach 200 million. And that's just one tour. You know, I love to correct myself on here. So a quick correction moment. A Firework is on Teenage Dream. I would have lost that at a trivia game. I would have sworn up one side and down the other it was on Prism. But oh well, it's on Teenage Dream. But that still goes to show what we're talking about when you have I Kissed a Girl, Hot and Cold, Firework, and then we go on to in Prism, the Roar, which you mentioned, like the songs you mentioned were on Prism. 3 such like really strong albums for 5 years. That's half a decade of successful, really well branded, really great, fun albums. Absolutely. Like, these are almost anthems in like when you really think about it. That is a feat. I would say she may have done the anthem better than Miss Swift. As somebody who loves me some Swift, I'm going to say it. A Firework? Are you joking? Taylor doesn't have something to mirror that one. That is like my song, or Roar. Me and my cousins grab each other's hands at any wedding and are like, we are going out. We are singing this song. It's girlhood.
So Taylor Swift may not have a song like Katy Perry's, or they don't have that in common. But what they do have in common is that they both dated John Mayer. And that's right around this time we're at in her timeline of her life and career.
Yes.
She dated him for quite a bit. I think it was like 2012 to 2015. They even recorded a song together. And it isn't the basis of her feud with Taylor Swift, but I don't think it helped that they both dated him and Taylor did not have good things to say about John Mayer. Rightfully so. He was a much older man preying on, I think, 18, 19.
I'm pretty sure she was around 19. Yes, he was much older. He's about 10 or so years older than her, Taylor. With Katy, he's quite a little bit older than her, too.
More of a contemporary.
Yes, a lot more. Like 5 years difference.
They at least were both adults when they started dating.
Correct. In their 20s. Like, it was fine, but it still was a pretty significant age gap overall. Like 5 years is quite a bit, but it's certainly not like, oh my gosh, you shouldn't be together. The basis of the feud with Taylor Swift.
Thank you. Because I do know that it is surrounding some backup dancers. And they were very public about this. So why don't you break it down for us?
The feud is because of the Prism tour. The lore is that Katy, quote, stole these backup dancers. And we know that that is a huge weakness that Taylor's always had to work on in her career. She loves to perform and she's a theater kid, but she isn't a strong dancer. Listen, I'm not either. So I always kind of respected that. And I got the artistry of it all. And that's why I like Taylor, because my artistry comes from, or I shouldn't call my artistry. I'm not the artist. Wow. Love that for myself. But my enjoyment of music comes from the poetry of it all and the singing talent of it all, because that is where I can tap into a little bit. I'm not going on American Idol, but I can carry a tune, and I like to carry a tune, and I like to see how these things are done. But all that to say, that's where Taylor also kind of is. She is tall. She has to work very hard to maintain that ballerina physique if she ever wanted to, right? She is a taller, ever-present woman, and she had to basically starve her body to even have that, like, when she was hanging out with all the models back in like 2014 and 15.
Girl gang era.
Yes, to look like that. And that was not a good time for her. She talks about it all the time. Her natural build is tall and not crazy. She's slim, but not like crazy tiny. Like she has a bit of an athletic build when she works out, if you look at her arms and her legs, and she's beautiful for it. So all that to say, Taylor, being this taller woman, is not the strongest dancer. And for that reason, may or may not have always pulled maybe the strongest backup dancers or backup dancers that she could work easily with and around, because it was something that she was always working to improve. Whereas Katy seemed to make the performance of it all really work. Again, the whole Betty Boop and the spinning peppermints and things like that. Taylor did not have that. Taylor didn't even have anything remotely close to that until Eras.
For like her Red tour, Taylor's Red tour.
Well, yeah, right. So Taylor would have been doing Red and Katy would have been doing Prism.
Correct.
And so they kind of, I guess there was some issues going on with the dancers. Now, I use stole dancers in air quotes because the dancers made the decision to sign the contract with Katy.
Correct.
But
you can't steal an employee. Like they're going to go where they feel comfortable or where they want to go.
Right. The gray area is, why is Katy even offering contracts to people who were already supposedly working for Taylor Swift's tour?
So I did see a clip of Katy Perry on James Corden, you know, where they sing in the carpool karaoke.
Carpool karaoke so much.
So
are you kidding?
She actually head on addresses it and says,
yeah, what did she say?
Essentially, she had backup dancers for a tour and she had a break. And so some of them went to go work for Taylor Swift. And she had said, if you would like to come back for me, put it in your contract to have a 30-day contingency where you need to let them know I will be returning to my other job. And that is apparently from what happened according to Katy Perry. But Taylor Swift necessarily didn't see it that way. She eventually told Rolling Stone that a fellow pop star tried to sabotage her entire arena tour. That's like a quote. And she didn't name names, but it was pretty obvious who it was.
And then we get the song Bad Blood.
Well, and then before that, like the next day after that article is released, Katy Perry tweets, watch out for the Regina George in sheep's clothing. Then you get Bad Blood.
And we see this in and around Taylor Swift. Like she, like any billionaire, is not letting anything stop her from getting what she wants, how she wants to get it. And she's going to make that money. Period. She's going to make it. Now, does she do other really great things? Like you'll constantly see her tipping. She gave raises. She gave bonuses all throughout Eras tour as she made more money. The people who worked for her made more money. So I'm not saying she's all bad, but she does ride the victim wave pretty easily. And a lot of people buy into it. I always will be riding fences. Okay. I'm a Libra, and I also am trained in psychology and counseling. So I am too far deep into the multiple perspectives. So you'll never hear me be able to be comfortable taking a hard stance, literally talk about it in therapy. So all that to say, though, Taylor does ride that wave. So I think Katy got some heat. And then again, we get the song Bad Blood by Taylor Swift on Reputation. But the two have since long worked it out. Right. It's been way over a decade. They're fine, but I wouldn't say that they're like hang out or are friends today.
No, I would say that they're probably cordial with one another. Yeah. I would say like we could chalk up the whole situation to a miscommunication if they both hadn't done songs.
Right.
But when Taylor did Bad Blood, Katy Perry sort of responded with her own song, Swish Swish, which is the most... I'm going to let that song speak for itself. It's unique. That was her rebuttal. And then Katy, a couple years later in like 2018, famously literally sent Taylor Swift an olive branch, like a literal olive branch to bury the hatchet.
Well known. This is well known.
So,
and what I think is interesting too, though, is that both albums that have the songs on them are in 2017. So it's like, what is going on here when all that happened 4 years before? What was going on here? Like, sometimes you have to think that like maybe some things are worked out, but they're like, but listen, I wrote this song and I want to release it. And like, oh, cool, I wrote a song, or I'll write a song and I'll release it. It's only going to help them both. Yeah. Like Swish Swish is on Witness, which again also was released in 2017.
We just saw that happening again with Taylor Swift and Charlie XCX.
We sure did.
So,
and we know that they've been friends before. So it makes you think.
It's the same playbook.
Yeah, it's the same playbook. But as we move on in Katy's life, we do move on to Witness, which is, again, the album Swish Swish was on in 2017, and American Idol. So a lot of that is the same era. And you had some things to say about this era at the beginning of how you feel about it. Fill me in. Well, first of all, we've got the pixie cut and we're platinum.
Like the haircut heard around the world. I think it was such a departure from what we had been accustomed to with Katy Perry. Very, like you said, it's like a very pinup Betty Boop look. And then it was like she had an entire style rebrand. And this is coming from someone that also had a literal pixie cut. Like, it's a choice. You have to stand behind it because it takes forever and it's very, very awkward to grow it out.
I think there's nothing chicer than someone pulling off a pixie cut, because it takes balls. But you're right, the growing it out and all of the things.
And that wasn't necessarily where my commentary was coming from, but I had to address the haircut because this is very much relevant to like her image at the time.
When you looked at it, you go, rebrand immediately.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was very similar to when Miley Cyrus bleached her hair and got a pixie cut. Like, I think, is it like a moment that most girls need to go through? I don't know. I had a bleach blonde pixie cut forever. But really, when I'm talking about like this American Idol era, she was a little bit more over the top in a way that we had never seen her before.
Yes.
Before, we had seen her over the top in the sense of very performative with those candy cane guns and the whipped cream bras. Now we were getting a taste of her personality.
Yes. Well, this is, I call it the peacock era. Okay.
Oh,
there's diamonds. There's a bright pixie cut. It's blue eyes shining through. It's standing on confidence in your decisions on American Idol, which she did get a lot of heat for, as I mentioned, not always being super nice, but then being nice and over the top. Like, she just couldn't help herself on this show, and she was being a bit of a show off. She was being a peacock.
And when you say she couldn't help herself, I think that also like extended to a few moments where she would literally trick contestants into like, she'd kiss them. Or I saw one clip where she did that. And I just think it was a no holds barred sort of like unpredictable era of hers.
Yes.
We never knew what she was going to do next. And I think it was really chaotic, and it felt like she was trying to figure out what or who she wanted to be at that moment.
Yes.
At least professionally.
It felt, because there was such a departure, I felt like I didn't know her either.
Oh, I had to get to know her again, basically.
Yes.
And it was like, I missed old Katy Perry. And that's something that you saw a lot in the comments, at least around this time, of people saying like, well, we miss sort of like not knowing you that much.
Yeah, they want the peppermint Betty Boop. But instead, they got this. And I'm going to share a picture with you. Okay.
Oh.
This is a performance in October of 2017.
That feels like very Lady Gaga, by the way.
It does. And this is very Lady Gaga meat dress kind of status. Like, it's very, she looks like a shining disco ball with like a Cleopatra like headpiece, but everything is silver and shiny. And we have really heavy eyeshadow that's blue, by the way. So instead of like the deep red lip with the dark hair and bright eyes and winged liners speaking for themselves, we now have this at this moment. And again, we're working on this being a decade away at this point, but again, 2017. So
I wonder if a lot of it had to do with what was going on in her personal life as well, because now that she had sort of like rehabilitated herself from her breakup with Russell Brand and her breakup with John Mayer, she was now dating Orlando Bloom. They had met at a Golden Globes after party in 2016. And she says basically they had sort of a meet cute when he stole the In-N-Out burger that she wanted at this party. They broke up in 2017, so they weren't together for very long for the first time. Then they reunited, and he proposed in 2019 in a helicopter with a heart-shaped ring, which also feels very Lady Gaga, because I think one of her fiancés also gave her a heart-shaped ring. And then they eventually had their daughter, Daisy Dove Bloom, in 2020.
Yes, this is a whole new era for her again. She and Orlando got married in 2016, that same year. Recent divorce from this year in 2025, but now this is her mom era.
But it also felt like a lot of peaks and valleys. Like they broke up, they got back together, they were a newly engaged couple, they have a baby. It's a lot of moving pieces. There was a lot of new beginnings to get used to. So I can imagine that must have been really difficult. As we kind of talked about, we touched on that with Victoria Beckham when we talked about how she was a new mom, she was a new wife, she was moving to Spain. This sort of feels the same for Katy Perry.
It does. It absolutely does. I feel like this is kind of interesting to think of when we think of like, I think like what's going on in the world too. We're crossing into a new decade. We have the pandemic when we're talking about her becoming a mother. This is all at like 2020 and after. So I think it also has a lot to do, like all of the things we were just talking about, with the fact that we are now 33 to like 35, not 25 anymore. So the whole missing the peppermint Betty Boop, I think she wanted to not be that anymore, rightfully so. So we get to know her as she's maybe rediscovering herself. I do think this is quick again, just like it was with Russell Brand. So it's obviously a little concerning, but they did stay together for quite a while, with the divorce being so recent. Almost 10 years, 2016 to 2025. So 8-9 years. It's a long time. And again, we have so many other things going on in the world and with her career. And we do get more albums that I don't think, I could be wrong, I don't think like Witness did pretty well, but I still think like Witness to Smile, which was 2020, and 143, gotta love that like millennial dog
that
whistle there. in 2024. Right. But then we also, by the way, we just got a single a few days ago called Band-Aids. So
I don't think any of those albums you mentioned had the cultural impact that the first 3 albums did.
They didn't. And I think a lot of it has to do with this departure to the metallic peacock side of things. I really do.
And I have to wonder, is it all her? I mean, she has a team of people. Are they just yes men and women and not giving her guidance? Or do they all think that this is going to hit and then it doesn't?
I think it has to do with aging as well. I think that she's not...
It's her audience.
Right.
It's evolving.
I will say, in the younger years, I had friends who loved her because she was a hot chick to them. So she was even pulling some straight guys at that point in terms of who was following her career a little bit. They might not have liked her music as music they related to, but they either listened or watched the music videos because she was a hot chick. I still think she's beautiful. I think she's aging gracefully. I've said it already in this episode. 41 is not old, but it is old in that industry or in terms of being able to pull kind of the numbers in the audience that you once were. You kind of at this time are maybe, I'm not an expert, but babying the audience that you have had. And that can dwindle as people move on with their lives and relate in different ways. So,
and I think it's especially hard to accomplish as a woman because, whether we like it or not, well, I don't like it, but our social currency is our looks and our youth. And a lot of times as women in the entertainment industry get older, it's harder to hold on to, that level of fame that they had when they were fresh new things out on the scene. And, Taylor Swift is really the outlier in this. It's very unusual for her to be able to accomplish what she has as an almost 36-year-old woman versus you have people like the Rolling Stones. They're ancient men. You have Bruce Springsteen and another man who's in his 70s.
George Clooney.
But I'm even just thinking of musical acts.
I hear
that are still touring and still able to hold on to their demographics.
Yeah.
But they happen to be men and they get to go out and just a jeans and a t-shirt outfit.
Yeah.
They don't have to go through the whole whipped cream bras, candy cane, this and that. You know what I mean? There's so much less fuss.
Oh,
and
I think
I have to wonder if it's all related.
It is. It very much is. It's all related to patriarchal society a little bit, not to get super deep with that, but it can't be ignored. Taylor forces the rebrand. A lot of other stars, I think, do it wrong in the sense of they wait for audiences to tell them that they need to rebrand. Whereas Taylor's I don't care. I'm rebranding. New album, rebrand. I will say that Showgirls probably the lightest rebrand in terms of what she wears on a day to day. But I think her rebrand is the Travis rebrand. And she's here's your I'm Happy album. But also it's an homage to all of my other albums. If you haven't listened to our breakdown on Showgirl, please go listen to that because we give you a very fun breakdown of songs. And I have a theory that I weave in and out. But I did not mean to cut you off. I hear you're trying to say something. I'm going to shut up.
No, that's okay. But yeah, I think this lends itself to a much broader conversation than we could ever have on a pop culture podcast.
Yeah, we are not sociologists, people, but this is a picture of some patriarchal influence on Katy's career, most likely. Not loving that she's aging, blah, blah, blah. And men being cool, you're a cool old dude. Or you've got Clooney syndrome. I tell my husband that all the time. You have Clooney syndrome. You keep getting better looking than you were in high school. And I keep getting gray hair and feeling uglier and uglier. This is not fair. And maybe that's on us too. We feel like that because why? Maybe some of society, but some of it is women that also participate in patriarchy because a lot of us don't know any different, blah, 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 blah. So like you said, very huge conversation that we want to acknowledge, but that this podcast isn't necessarily for. There are tons.
Or like equipped to have
right.
that, like
yes.
to fully explore all avenues and all angles. I don't know if we would be the right people to.
Right. And I don't think our listeners want to totally hear that, right, guys? But you guys get it to the light sense of what we're saying. It's weaved in there. We see it. It's got to be acknowledged, but we are not the... Yeah. So
but you did
that's just us being nervous Nellies that you guys are going to get mad at us. Don't be mad.
Well, not even nervous Nellies. It's like I would want to do that conversation justice. And I don't know if I am prepared enough or have the, you know what I mean? Like I would want to do it right.
We need sociological studies. We need all of the things to understand, but we're also acknowledging that we know it exists to a certain extent.
Well, we're acknowledging it and we're jumping on to the tea. So you did mention Band-Aids, her new single that was just released.
Band-Aids,
It came out, I want to say, not too long ago.
The 7th of November.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So a couple of days. And she released a very Final Destination inspired music video for it. I watched that last night.
Oh, I need to watch it. Was it good?
It was good. And there's this moment where it is talking about basically a relationship ending. And we know it's in response to her marriage with Orlando Bloom coming to an end. There's a moment after she's literally escaped near death moments. She has her foot stuck in train tracks and a train is coming at her. And she says something like, if I had a choice, would I do it all again? And she's trying to pull her foot out and she looks down and she sees a little daisy growing out of the dirt. Oh. And as we know, we just said her daughter's name is Daisy, which feels like very much, by the way, it ends with us name, Daisy Bloom.
It really is.
Can we say that really quick? We have to acknowledge that.
Oh my gosh.
But she looks down, sees the daisy, and says, no, I would not change anything, and yanks her foot, survives. And then, the music video does end with her blowing up, but she did escape at that moment when she said that she would definitely do it all again.
She accepted her fate of saying, no, I would do this again. And then she blows up. I see why they made that choice.
Yeah, she accepted her fate, but she also acknowledged that no matter how hard that relationship was
worth it.
A beautiful thing came out of it, and it was her daughter, which I just love. Yeah. And I don't know, like just even seeing that, like I think maybe it's like postpartum or like because I'm still breastfeeding. I feel like I feel things a little bit more, and like that like made me like tear up a little bit. Aww. Even though it was like kind of cheesy. But the tea also comes from the fact that, as we mentioned earlier, I believe you mentioned that Katy Perry has been seen with Justin Trudeau.
Yes, the Canadian Prime Minister. And it's brought on a lot of feelings, a lot of discourse online. People have a lot to say about it. And I'm kind of just like...
have a lot to say about it. I feel like they're very pretty together. I don't know much else.
It's an interesting match to me. Like
it feels odd.
Politics and peppermint Betty Boop, but like maybe I shouldn't just assign her that all she is a peppermint Betty Boop. You know what I mean?
Well, and like, I guess we don't define her based on who she's dated because she has such a diverse roster. Like you have Russell Brand, John Mayer, Travis McCoy, Orlando Bloom, Justin Trudeau. None of them really feel like they have anything in common.
Yeah, like what's your type, girl?
I don't know how she picks them, but I wonder if it's a PR relationship. I don't know. I think most relationships, to me, I'm always guessing, if they're in the public eye, I have to wonder if they're a PR relationship.
You always want to question it for a little bit before you dive into really being excited or wanting to give time to the relationship and follow what they're trying to tell us through the relationship story. I don't know. I mean, obviously, a politician might want to clean up image after a divorce and resigning from the position. He was kind of ousted a little bit, I guess. I don't know all of the lore. I just know that happened. And then they had another special election because he resigned in Canada. So that was like a big deal. I want to say it was last year in 2024. Again, I didn't follow it too much, not being Canadian, because we had so much going on. Actually, he resigned this year. It was this year. But regardless, we have so much going on over here. It's a little bit hard to follow what was going on in
What's
Canada.
happening in other countries.
But I could see where after resignation and her maybe wanting to release another album, looking at how the last 2 or 3 albums have done, maybe also wanting a PR relationship. I mean, and she just got divorced. So it's like, maybe she wouldn't care.
Her 2025 has had a lot going on.
Yeah.
She got divorced. She went to space for like a couple minutes. She famously...
That didn't go so well.
Brought a date. No, that didn't go so well. And there's actually a couple things. So she brought a daisy up with her.
I don't think a lot of people understood that it was her daughter.
That it was for her daughter.
I don't think a lot of people did.
That was not well received, not the daisy in general, but like the overall going to space moment was not received well. When she got back down to Earth, she exited the spaceship and literally lips to ground kissed it.
Yeah.
So that moment, so picture Katy in her spacesuit kissing the ground, was just recreated over Halloween by none other than Orlando Bloom's alleged new girlfriend, Rachel Lynn Matthews. And this is just coming out. This is like hot off the press. There are photos of her dressed in a black wig, wearing a spacesuit, kissing the ground. And
it's very loud.
It's very loud. And people were trying to give Orlando the benefit of the doubt, saying, well, maybe he didn't know. He did know, because they were seen at the same Halloween party. She's wearing the Katy Perry astronaut outfit, standing in a photo next to him. He knew, and
of course,
I guess didn't say anything. I don't know. Like, it's one thing to have to have a rocky divorce, but that's still the mother of his child. I don't know if I would be cool with someone making fun of the mother or the father of my child, you know?
Yeah. Their daughter is like, what,
5.
4 or 5? Yeah. So is that mommy, daddy, like, what's she doing? Like, that is kind of not okay. And it's very irresponsible of her to go through that. And it's very irresponsible of him not to put a stop to that. Yeah. Wow. That is a whole situation on its own.
It's a whole situation. I'm actually looking at the photo of them posing together on Halloween. And I think, I don't know, is it karma? He looks really rough in that photo. So
yeah, it's been, to me, kind of a quiet divorce, at least my For You pages, right? Because we only know what the algorithm is serving us. And I don't know a lot about what happened, why they ended up getting divorced or anything like that.
I haven't heard anything either, but I do know she was on Call Her Daddy. I don't know if it was this year or the tail end of last year, where she did comment a little bit on her life and her relationship. And obviously, this was when she was still married to Orlando. So he did come up in conversation. And I distinctly remember a moment where she was saying that she just basically talking about like the mental load or like of like household duties. She was saying like, just clean up after yourself, wash some dishes, I'll give you a blowjob. Or she like flipped out. Like there's this moment where she literally says that. Do you remember that?
Of that interview? Did I finish it? I think I would have. It's just been a while, but
yeah. She says something along those lines. I don't want to repeat it, but where you could tell like, okay, is there a little bit of frustration, an undercurrent of frustration?
Yeah.
Well, it probably didn't help.
Well, it's weaponized incompetence to a certain extent, because you can say, I want to help. What do you need? I don't want to tell you what I need. Look around. How do you think I figured out what was needing to be happening around the house or with the kids or the dog or whatever the heck is going on in your life? And I just saw a video about this last night as well, which was somebody speaking very kindly, but talking about this representation she saw on a plane of parents with a toddler sitting across the aisle from each other. So they both had aisle seats, sitting in the aisle. Somebody wanted to move. And I mean, the mom was already kind of mainly handling the toddler, but you can't always help who a primary parent is or becomes. Dogs even do it. I am the primary dog person, even though my husband feeds her and does all of the things. Sometimes that just happens. Personalities click, blah, blah. Same thing with parents and kids, but everybody loves each other equally. So the mom already was appearing to be a bit of the primary parent in this situation, but somebody wanted to move. And the guy was like, oh, well, yeah, like I might not mind moving, but like, let me ask my wife. And the wife's looking at him like, yeah, it very much is inconvenient, sir, if you move up aisles ahead and sit in a window seat because we have our toddler here. I'm going to need help. You have the bag with wipes and drinks and food and what, like, hello, sir?
It opens up that whole conversation that I see online. And I've seen it quite a few where they say like, I picked this seat. Like if you wanted a window seat or you wanted an aisle seat, when you chose your seat on an airplane, right, you should have chosen that. Don't ask me to switch last minute because you failed to plan.
Right. Or if it bothers you to an anxiety point, then you can't book flights last minute and you need to prepare accordingly. Or when you can't prepare accordingly, then, you figure it out from there, what flight and when you're going, blah, blah, blah. But the video even went on a little bit step further where no, the guy did not move then because they did kindly say, oh, hey, sorry, like we have our toddler. Somebody else moved or whatever. I think the person in the video did, but she was kind of watching what happened. And it's like every time the wife needed something, he was right there. He was very involved, which is great. Hey, yeah, like what is it? What do you need? I need the crayons. Where are the crayons? They're in the front pouch, brother. So she was already the one that like packed the bag and did all the things and put the wipes in there. And he just is able to know that they're there. And the comments were interesting. And that's like, yes, it is one thing to be involved, but it's also another to never know where they are. Don't go to the store and ask me what brand of wipes we need, because you should know the 1 or 2 brands of wipes that we are comfortable using in this household or that fit our wipe warmer or whatever the heck the reason is why you have those particular wipes. Like I'm allergic, they're allergic, but you should know all these things because they're right in front of your face every single day, but it's weaponized incompetence, right? When you don't do that. I could literally do a whole episode on this because there are so many well-meaning men that quote, just want a list. I don't want to write you a list. What do you do when I'm at work? Or when you're at work, what do you do? How do you survive at work without me telling you where everything is, right? Use that skill and ability in the home. And one of the comments really kind of made me chuckle. And this is where I'll end it. But it goes, I tell my husband all the time, pretend I died. What would you do if I passed away? Pretend I am not here and you need to get this done. What would you then do? Make your adult decisions. And I get it because I will say this. And this is probably a better place to end because this is me. I have OCD though, but I believe this applies to a lot of other women. Very specific about certain things where a lot of times a dude could not give a crap. So when he asks you, sometimes it might not be because he doesn't know, although maybe he should, but he doesn't want to do it wrong because he knows you have a specific type, but he doesn't use it every day the way you do. Maybe he doesn't use the cotton balls every day the way you do. And doesn't know the brand, so it's a very long conversation. It's another piece of that. So our poor dudes are taking a hit in this episode. We love you. Okay. This is all out of love. So anyways, it's all that to say that, yeah, it sounds like Katy was experiencing maybe what some of all of us experience, and how relatable is that? So I can totally understand why they would have brought it up on a Call Her Daddy interview for the relatability factor and just a little peek behind the veil of what the heck was happening. Because as you and I were saying, not really a lot out there about what happened to her in Orlando. And it's a relationship people have been following for almost a decade.
And she's definitely, trying to pick the pieces up and figure out how to move forward. So like we said, she has her new single out. She has her new relationship. I feel like I should have seen this breakup happening because she had I don't know if she had a full mommy makeover or something. She looks freaking incredible.
Thank you. I was going to say the cover of the Band-Aid single, at least the one on Apple, which is probably the same everywhere. Phenomenal.
I don't know how many crunches or sit-ups she does a day. And when I say mommy makeover, I just mean
it's like a glow up.
She just, it was a glow up and she was already gorgeous, but it just was like, I've never seen her so buff. I'm not she has a full on 6-pack.
Okay. I need to be watching this. I need to be watching this because she looked really cute and great on the Call Her Daddy interview, but of course she was just wearing like a t-shirt and I think jeans or something. So, because people dress either branded on that show or very casual. So there's like no in between. So I'm going to definitely watch that. I'm going to be rooting for her and Justin or whoever else she may find happiness with. I hope that we get a really good album out of where this single Band-Aids is coming from.
Yeah, me too.
I'm smelling it. It's time for a hit for her, and the energy and the momentum feels like it's there. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no, I do. And I was listening to the song when I watched the video. I thought it was pretty good. I might have to listen to it again. I feel like that tends to be how I absorb it. Because like first I'm just like trying to get the vibe of it.
Yep.
Like that's how I was with the Hilary Duff's new single. I had to listen to it first. And I was like, okay, yeah, it's good. Then I listened to it again. And then I caught myself just playing only that song. So I was like, okay, I'm feeling it. So now once I'm done listening to that song, I'll have to check out Katy Perry's again.
I absolutely know exactly what you're talking about. I will have a car ride or even a week to a month where there's only an album or a song that I am listening to on repeat. And I'm feeling like this could be it, but I got to get into it. I gotta catch up. I got to watch the music video. I got to listen to the song, then listen to it with the lyrics. I have Katy Perry homework.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get to it.
Well, I'm going to go do that. And thanks to all of you guys for being here today.
Thank you so much. Be sure to check us out on Thursday for our true crime case coverage and next Monday for our follow-up, our next unscripted episode.
Make sure you follow us on all of our socials too, please, while you wait for those episodes Natalie just told you about at the Murder Diaries Pod and officially on Instagram at Unscripted
Popcast. Unscripted Popcast.
At Unscripted Popcast. YouTube, we also have a video out on there now too, so you can watch us with Gay Man with a Spray Tan that we got to film at Spotify. It was so much fun, so go check out that video. Subscribe there. Subscribe to Unscripted Popcast, The Murder Diaries. We love you for it. Thank you so much for your support as always. Bye.
I've told you before, I'm telling you now, and if I'm lucky, I'll get to tell you again. For therapy, I choose Rula. I've made that choice, by the way, for quite a few years now. I'm very open about my struggles with OCD, and Rula's amazing therapists have been nothing but amazing. More than that, though, I am impressed with their platform. There's a check-in survey before my sessions, and if I have questions or need to talk to my therapist in between sessions, I can message her right on Rula's platform from my account. Did I mention also that they partner with over 100 insurance plans and the average copay is just $15 per session? Some people pay $0. I know I do. Rula is true to end care. They're committed to supporting you. I know I have felt supported and staying with you every step of the way on your mental health journey, from finding that right therapist to helping you get those appointments scheduled. Join thousands of people who are already using Rula to get affordable, high-quality therapy that's actually covered by insurance. Visit rula.com/diaries to get started. After you sign up, you'll be asked how you heard about them. Please tell them about our show and let them know we sent you. That's rula.com/diaries. You deserve mental health care that works with you, not against your budget.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. You know, one of the perks about having 4 kids that you know about is actually getting a direct line to the big man up north. And this year, he wants you to know the best gift that you can give someone is the gift of Mint Mobile's unlimited wireless for $15 a month. Now, you don't even need to wrap it. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.